Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Infinity Futures Daily Trading video. My name is Raleigh White, and I'm here to talk to you about the trades we took in our live trading room on Wednesday, December 10th, 2014. Well, looking at today's economic calendar, you can see we had a relatively light schedule, but there was one event that we needed to be aware of. At 9:30, we had the release of the crude oil inventories, which came out higher than expected, with an increase of 1.5 million barrels versus a forecasted drawdown of a negative 2.6 million barrels. Then at 12 o'clock, we had the release of the 10-year note auction results, which came in with the highest interest rates paid at 2.21% and a bid-to-cover ratio of 3.0. That was versus last month, where the highest interest paid was 2.37% and the bid-to-cover ratio was 2.5. And then at 1 o'clock, we have the upcoming release of the federal budget balance. As far as today's market sentiment was concerned, things were fairly negative coming into the open. Now, as the Asian markets had closed mostly lower on sluggish growth, and investors in Asia were nervous on persistently low oil prices and on a report that came out showing that there was a 2.7% drop in China's producer price index. The worst performing market in Asia was the Japanese Nikkei. It closed down 2.3% and was at two-week lows as the stronger yen was hurting export shares and on a pessimistic manufacturing outlook for the next 6 months going out. Now, interestingly enough, the best performing market was the Shanghai market. It closed up 0.3 of a point, and that was after closing down 5.5 points yesterday, and this was despite the falling consumer price index and producer price index data suggesting that the economy is in fact cooling off. So extremely volatile trading in the Shanghai market today. As far as the European markets are concerned, they were open and trending higher after yesterday's sell-off. Now, the shares were moving higher across the board as bargain hunters were sparking a risk-on rebound in the European markets. However, there were several things that were capping gains. Number one, we saw that Greece remains in focus as calls for a snap presidential vote is now scheduled for next week, and that's adding to fiscal uncertainty. We also see here that their tensions continue to rise between the Ukraine and Russia after separatists are accused of violating a ceasefire that was put in place yesterday. As far as the United States is concerned, Wall Street did figure to open up lower on falling crude oil prices. Now, the futures were pointing down coming into the open following the mixed global markets and on continued pressure on oil prices. Now, crude oil remains under scrutiny today ahead of the OPEC's monthly oil market report, and for many U.S. investors, they'll be squarely focused on the release of the crude oil inventory data today at 9:30, the 10-year note auction at 12, and on this afternoon's federal budget balance. As far as my trading activity is concerned, I attempted 6 entries in the market, but unfortunately were not filled on any of those, but I do want to share with you some of the setups that I did see. But before I do that, I need to remind you all of this following important disclaimer, and that is that trading futures involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your circumstances, knowledge, and financial resources, as you may lose all or more of your initial investment. And always remember that past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Well, turning to the charts, let's begin here with the E-mini Dow market. And we can see that shortly after the open of the U.S. trading session, we had 1, 2, 3 consecutive bars moving lower, followed by 1 bar retracing and a 2nd bar retracing, and I was sitting here ready to catch a short order at 177.36, and you can see the market came only 1 tick in my direction and then fell away from me, and I had to take this trade out of the market. The next opportunity I saw was in the Euro FX futures market. And looking at this market, we can see right here at the open, we had 2 bars moving higher, followed by 1 bar retracing, and I was hoping this bar was going to give me a little bit of a deeper retracement and give me a fill right off the lower Bollinger Band at 123.87. Unfortunately, the market came only within a couple of ticks of my fill, moved away from me, and I had to take that trade out of the market. That brings me to the E-mini S&P 500, which is where we saw 4 opportunities this morning. Right off the bat here at the open, we had 2 bars moving lower, followed by 1 one bar retracing, and I was hoping the second bar was going to retrace and give me a short entry at 20.54 3/4, but the market fell away from me and I had to take this trade off. Then we can see we had 2 bars moving lower and then 2 bars retracing, and I was hoping to get a short entry here at 20.53.5. In this case, the market went 1 tick in my direction, then fell back here all the way through my profit target, and when that happened, I had to take this trade out of the market. Staying with the E-mini S&P 500, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive bars moving lower, followed by 1 bar retracing, and I was hoping this bar here was going to retrace back to the main pivot point, and I was sitting here with a short entry at 20.50 3/4, but the market fell away from me and I never saw my fill. Then towards the end of the trading session, you can see we had 1, 2, 3 bars moving lower, followed by 1 bar retracing, and I was hoping this second bar here was going to come back up here and retrace and give me a short entry at 20.47.5. It never did that. It fell away from me and I had to take that trade off. So at the end of the trading session here, I had 6 attempts in the markets and I didn't have any fills, but I did want to come back around lunch period and take a look at what was going on in the crude oil markets, and let me share with you some trading opportunities that I saw there. Now, what we're looking at here is my point and figure chart for crude oil, and we can see here that as prices were chopping around, we see that we had a column of X's moving up here, and then prices pulled away, and for me this established this area as a minor area of resistance. And so when prices came down and then finally worked their way up into this area, I was sitting here with a short entry at 60.80, and so I got my fill here. I had a 5-tick profit target and I had a 10-tick stop loss. Well, on this trade I got my fill. Initially the market moved against me about 7 ticks, and then it came in my direction, came within 1 tick of my profit target, turned around to 7 ticks against me, and then came back, and this time it did go to my profit target. It just touched it, and when it did that, my stop loss moved here back to break even, and son of a gun, the market turned right around here and knocked me out at break even for a scratch trade. So I did have my profit target touched here, but I wasn't filled, and the market moved quickly away, and I had in fact moved my stop loss to break even and protected myself from a loss and took a scratch trade here. Now, staying with crude oil, we can see markets and things were bouncing around a bit. And we had established here off of this column of X's going up and O's retracing that we had a minor area of support down here. So as prices were chopping around and then started to head down into this area, I was sitting here waiting with a long order at 60.64, and I got my fill, and the market moved 2-3 ticks against me and then moved in my direction. When it went up 5 ticks, I moved my stops to break even, but this time my profit target was taken out, and I was able to pick up 5 ticks, which gave me 50 ticks, which gave me $50 per contract traded. Now, I stayed with crude oil, and there was another opportunity I want to share with you, and we can see here a little bit later on in the trading session, we have a column of X's going up and then O's retracing, and then a big column of X's going up. This established for me here that this was an area of minor support. This area above here established for me an area of minor resistance. So as prices were just kind of busy chopping around, as prices started to fall here, I was sitting here with a long entry at 61.16 with a 5-tick profit target and a 10-tick stop loss. In this case, you can see prices came down, they filled me, they moved about 5 ticks against me and then turned around, and when they moved to my profit target, my stop loss quickly moved to break even. So I was protected here, but I did get profit, which was another 5 ticks, and that's where I ended my trading session. So all told, I ended up with 9 attempts in the market. I had 3 fills, all of them in crude oil. One was a scratch trade, and I had one for $50 and a second one for $50, and that put me up $100 on the trading session, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of opportunities might present themselves tomorrow. Well, looking at tomorrow's economic calendar, you can see we have the busiest day of the week so far. At 7:30, we have the release of core retail sales data, and then we have retail sales coming out. Then at 7:30 we also have the weekly unemployment claims and import prices. Then at 9 o'clock we have business inventories coming out. At 9:30 natural gas storage. And then at 12:01 we have the release of the results of the 30-year bond auction. So individually or collectively, these reports have the potential to move the markets, and hopefully that's going to give us some nice trading opportunities. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for watching today's daily video. I wish you a pleasant evening. I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Take care and good night.